All right, let's settle this. In one corner, you have the soaring, operatic majesty of Queen, and in the other, the full-blown symphonic force of the Electric Light Orchestra. We're talking about two of the most ambitious bands in rock history, and a truly epic battle of sound.
So, Queen or ELO? I mean, both were absolute titans of over-the-top orchestral rock, but the real question is, who truly mastered sonic excess? We're going to dive deep into their symphonic warfare, dissecting all those lavish overdubs and complex arrangements to figure out which band really pushed the boundaries further and, in the end, defined an era.
Okay, so let's get right to the heart of it. This whole rivalry really boils down to two completely different philosophies. Queen's approach? They wanted to become the orchestra. They built this absolutely colossal sound from the inside out, using just themselves. ELO, on the other hand, they decided to just go out and hire the orchestra, fusing a rock band with a full-blown symphony. So you have two very different paths to the exact same destination, pure, unadulterated sonic grandeur.
So you have to wonder, where did this whole obsession with more is more even come from? Well, for that, we've got to go back to the early 70s. This was a time when both of these bands basically looked at the standard rock setup of guitars and drums and just said, nope, that's not going to be enough for us.
And you can see the signs really early on. By 1974, Queen was already crafting these insanely elaborate, layered tracks like The March of the Black Queen. But ELO was even earlier. Their debut album in '71 was described as murky and cello-swamped. I mean, talk about a clear signal that Jeff Lynne was already dreaming of that perfect rock and classical hybrid.
Okay, but how did they actually do it? I mean, what was the technology that made all this sonic warfare possible? Let's take a look at the actual analog machinery behind the magic.
The absolute game changer, the key to everything, was this amazing piece of tech, multi-track recording. Basically, it let you record different instruments and vocals onto their own separate tracks on a tape. This meant you could just layer sounds, and then layer some more, and then add effects and balance everything just right. You weren't just recording a song, you were literally building it, piece by piece.
But here's the crazy part. They didn't have unlimited tracks like we do today with a laptop. Nope. For a huge part of this era, the creative battleground was defined by this one number, 16. Just 16 channels to build an entire universe of sound. And that limitation, that's what forced them to be so unbelievably inventive. And that brings us right to Queen's incredible method. Let's dig into how they turned just 4 musicians into a full-blown symphony using nothing but their own voices and instruments. I mean, this is the stuff of actual legend. For a song like Bohemian Rhapsody, the band layered their vocals so many times, we're talking hundreds of overdubs, that the magnetic tape itself literally started to wear away. You could actually see through it in spots. Think about that for a second. They weren't just pushing creative boundaries, they were pushing the physical limits of the recording medium itself. And it wasn't just about the vocals, not by a long shot. You have to look at Brian May. He didn't approach the guitar like a typical rock player, he approached it like a classical composer. He literally said he wanted to compose a little tune that would be a counterpart to the main melody. See, he wasn't just shredding solos, he was writing these intricate, interwoven harmonies. He treated his guitar like it was an entire string section.
So this is pretty much the genius process. It all started on this rock-solid foundation from John Deacon and Roger Taylor. Then, on top of that, they'd build that massive legendary vocal chorus with Freddie, Brian, and Roger singing dozens of parts. And then the final piece of the puzzle? The guitar orchestra. It was like building a sonic skyscraper, floor by floor, turning 4 guys into what sounded like 100.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about ELO, because their approach was the total opposite. But oh man, it was just as ambitious. See, Jeff Lynne didn't want to imitate an orchestra, he wanted to command one.
ELO's journey was really an evolution you can trace. They started out by using their own violinist and 2 cellists, overdubbing them again and again to fake a bigger sound. But then, by 1974's El Dorado, Jeff Lynne just went all in. He hired a full 40-piece orchestra. And by '76, on an album like A New World Record, he had absolutely perfected it. The fusion between band and symphony was seamless.
And you have to hear this. To record that huge orchestra, you'd think they'd be in some grand concert hall, right? Wrong. Their producer, Reinhold Mach, remembers cramming the entire symphony into their small rock studio in Munich. They literally had musicians lined up against the wall and playing out in the lobby. And why? all to get a tighter, more compressed, and distinctly rock sound from those strings.
And this right here is the absolute key to the whole ELO sound. Jeff Lynne wasn't just looking for some pristine, perfect classical recording. No way. He would get this beautiful orchestral take, and then he'd turn to his engineer and ask, "Okay, that sounds great. Can you screw it up?" He wanted to add effects, to mess with it, to make it sound otherworldly. And that, right there, was his genius.
Okay, so we've seen their different philosophies, we've seen their different weapons of choice. How do these two titans of sonic excess really stack up when you put them side by side?
This table really just lays it all out, doesn't it? Queen's whole orchestration was internal, created with their own voices and guitars through relentless overdubbing. ELO's was external, blending a live orchestra with the band. So you get these two core philosophies. Queen wanted to be the orchestra, while ELO wanted to command one. And that's what leads you to their signature sounds. Queen's rock opera versus ELO's symphonic pop. And that brings us all the way back to the ultimate question. And honestly, there's no single right answer here. Whose vision do you think was grander? Was it the four-piece band that, through sheer talent and studio wizardry, became an orchestra? Or was it the band that took a full symphony and bent it to the will of rock and roll?
So what do you think? Who's your king of the overdub? Was it Queen's vocal army or ELO's symphonic fleet? Drop your verdict down in the comments. We'd love to hear it. And hey, while you're there, a little subscription love never hurt a rock opera. Thanks for watching.